Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have a great article for you guys from Mike over at Light Reading. I will leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So earlier this morning, AT&T announced its third quarter earnings. They had a third quarter earnings call. So I wanted to give some additional thoughts. I tuned into the earnings call about an hour and a half. And I wanted to share some additional commentary on AT&T's quarter overall, how it stacks up against the competition, and what we can potentially expect from AT&T moving forward. So I want to start off by talking about something that is very important, but it's not the end all be all, right? And it's the networking, right? T-Mobile and Verizon constantly throw around their mid-band deployment. I'm at this amount of pops, right? T-Mobile's getting ready to hit 300 million pops. Verizon will likely come in somewhere around 240, 245 million pops. Both are aggressively investing, and both of them are deploying as fast as they possibly can. What sticks out here is AT&T is behind in that mid-band deployment. They announced this morning that they now cover 190 million pops with its mid-band. But you got to look at the facts, right? The facts show that AT&T is able to grow the consumer and grow its financials. They can do both with less of a mid-band footprint. Verizon can't do both. They have more mid-band, but they lose on the consumer side. They're solid on the financials, but they lose on the consumer. T-Mobile, they're about to hit 300 million pops. Yes, they will probably outgrow AT&T on the consumer side, but they won't post as high of financials as AT&T. So AT&T has struck a perfect balance in the industry on how to grow and how to maintain and grow the financials, beat and raise quarters. They added 468,000 postpaid ads. Now that's, if you look at it over year versus last year, in the same quarter last year, AT&T did do 702,000. So that's a bit of a, negative there. But, the market didn't care because AT&T beat their free cash flow estimates. That's what the market looked at. And in fact, AT&T didn't only beat it, they raised their goal for the year. They're now at $16.5 billion on the free cash flow. That's what caused the stock to go up as much as it did. So that's a huge accomplishment for AT&T, and it did not take them getting to 250 million pops of C-band to achieve that goal. So the question is going to come up, does it really matter? If you're looking at AT&T's business model, doesn't matter much. They continue to post a balanced approach. They continue taking, raking in the money. They continue taking customers. And they're doing the same on fiber, right? The converged, that's what they're calling, that's the language they're using internally. They say the converged networks, right, the fiber and the wireless together, they have one of the best products in the world. That's what they're saying internally. Fiber is wireless, that's debatable, right? But if you're combining both, the fiber that they're operating and the scale that they're at, I mean, they have the best in the world. Gotta be. I don't know if there's another operator that operates fiber to the home at the scale that AT&T does. And now AT&T is even modernizing that footprint, right? They're going to 2 gig, 5 gig. Eventually, they'll go to 10 gig. That's a lot of bandwidth running through those pipes. But AT&T's doing it. And they say that, the fiber customer, that's a prime customer. It's high ARPU. Consumers are buying up the rate card. They're going from 2 to 5 gigs. So you can look online. You could look at that pricing. It's pretty pricey. Their ARPU is approaching $60. They don't pay subsidies to get those customers, right? They're not out there handing out $1,000 phone subsidies to get fiber customers. No. The only subsidy that they have is the router. And if you buy that in bulk, which they do, it's not as expensive as having to dish out a $1,000 phone. Probably not anywhere close. So one might ask, the example that I just gave, T-Mobile, they don't have that same type of balanced approach. And Verizon can't grow both. They don't grow consumer. So, they can't do, they might do good on the financials, but they don't grow consumer. AT&T is the only carrier that does both. And they've done it consistently. They grow the consumer base and they grow their financials. That's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. And that has huge implications for the future. And AT&T might really be the sleeping giant in all of this. Yes, they might not have the most density. Yes, they might not have, the tower where you might need it. Yes, they might still lack coverage in some areas. But their approach is really working. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think they're if they accelerate at any given moment, that's a big deal. They could come out during fourth quarter's earnings and say, look, wireless, we're going to invest a bit more there. We're going to get more aggressive on densification. They could come out and say that. They also could come out and say, hey, look, on the fiber side, we're going to continue growing that fiber and maybe even more. Because it's a success story. They talked about it during the quarterly earnings call. Wherever they lay fiber, wherever they penetrate, they get fiber, they get wireless. Done deal. And they say they don't even have to try hard. So it's very interesting to really look at that balanced approach. It's a big deal. It's really working for them, and they will continue to push this. Right? The new and existing customers getting the same deal, that's working as well. They're going to continue pushing that too. They've been doing that the longest. It's resonated with the consumers. It's a big deal. It's just really a big deal. So on the home internet air, the fixed wireless access product, running that in like the first 20 markets for a limited time. I don't think they have it, commercially launched for an extended period. They grew that to 25,000 customers. So there's some demand there, and that will likely go up. Next quarter, we might get 50, maybe 100,000, depending. And then it'll just keep going up and up and up from there. They have yet to disclose an actual guidance of where they want to be by a certain time frame. But they are saying that even with home internet air, if they get that in the house, they also get wireless with that. So they're able to bundle that too. They do it with fiber. They do it with home internet air. They got to have the best playbook here. If you're thinking 3-5 years down the road, where we're headed with technology, where they will go with fiber, how much they may want to penetrate, all these new markets that they're getting into with this BlackRock deal, that those are also new wireless customers. There's a very high percentage internally at AT&T of customers that get fiber, they get wireless. There's a high percentage of that. So that's mostly what they talked about during the quarterly earnings. DirecTV was brought up a few times, not really too much talked about there. Wireless was talked about too. It's a strong product, right? Leading with the 5G and the fiber. They call it first in class now. So they're doing some big things there, right? They have a ways to go. They'll hit 200 million or more by the end of the year. I anticipate they do 205, at most. I don't think they go to 210, 215. Once they get to 200 during Q4, maybe 205. That's pushing it, right? Because they're at 190. 205 would be another 15 million. That's right around the pace that they're at, right? They went from 175 to 190. That's 15 million. So getting from 190 to 205, I think that's realistic. Going to 210, 20 million, the winter months, it's probably not realistic. So I'm sticking to 205. That's probably where they will end up by the end of the year. And I think even for them, that's a big deal. Again, like I said, There's no urgency for them to push the network to limits, to new heights, to try to beat the competition. They're winning. They are winning. They have the best balanced approach, in my opinion, in the industry. They're getting very confident. They're now calling, home internet air another addition to the toolbox. I mean, they're getting so confident that their strategy's working. It's crazy. You can feel it when they talk. They're confident now that their plan is working. They tell everybody, don't panic, we're okay. So this is a pretty good management team that they have at AT&T. Starting with Stanky, getting rid of media, and they made some very strategic, great moves. They still have great purchasing power for whatever comes ahead in the future. So we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. So make sure you stay tuned for more. Like, share, subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Peace.